mock draft review. We're going to be grading the quarterback landing spots for Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and is there a third quarterback in the top 10 in our colleague Kyle Crabb's latest mock draft? We'll talk about this and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast, cover your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everyday. As you know, I got to kick the intro to Mr. LSU himself, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on X at The Talent Code. You talk to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. This is Keith Sanchez, 2019 national champ, man. And the other side to this dynamic duo that we like to call the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to start this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, man. Every listen is greatly appreciated here over at Locked On NFL Draft. DP, today's show, we are doing a mock draft. It's been a minute, man. We've been trying to get one in. It's been a minute. We are knocking out a mock draft. This is a mock draft Friday, right? You usually do Mondays. This is a mock draft Friday episode. DP, entertain the people, man, as we go and head off into the weekend, man. And we're going to talk about where did the quarterbacks go, right? The landing spots for the quarterbacks. And then was there a run on offensive tackles, much like we've seen in last year's NFL draft? And then Ashton Jeanty to the Los Angeles Chargers. How do we feel about that? We're going to talk about all that and more. DP, let's get into these QB landing spots.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Keith. You know, our guy Kyle Crabb's over at Locked On Dolphins, Locked On NFL Scouting. He's over the 33rd team. He did a mock draft. He had at number one, the New York Giants. We know that they're tanking. They want a quarterback. He has Cam Ward going from Miami to New York to the Giants. He has the next quarterback is off the board. Number 4, the Tennessee Titans replace Will Levis with Shedeur Sanders. And then we get a third quarterback in the top 10. At number 6, the Las Vegas Raiders select Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama. Let's start with pick number 1, Keith. Let's grade these landing spots. What grade do you give Cam Ward landing in New York with the Giants?
You know, DP, I want to say A minus, right? And I guess based off what Cam Ward can actually do playing football. But the thing is this, that I don't know who the head coach is going to be right now, right? Like, I want to be that aggressive. I think the combination of Cam Ward and Brian Daboll could be really good, but I know as of late there have been rumblings, right, and talks that Brian Daboll might not be back, right? And some people saying that Brian Daboll shouldn't come back. He should try to he should go get a fresh start elsewhere in the NFL as the head coach if he has the opportunity potentially. But so instead of going A minus, I'm gonna give it a B, right? A solid B, because I do think that the Giants have offensive weapons, right? If you try to get Jalen Hyde going, obviously Malik Neighbors shows that he can be a superstar wide receiver in the NFL. You have Theo Johnson at tight end, right? You have Tyrone Tracy, the running back, who showed that he could catch the football out of the backfield. Offensive line, I think, is decent when healthy, right? You still have to add some depth in and fill in a couple holes there, but the Giants not a bad situation. Cam Ward, I think he's a pretty good quarterback, and I think that if you have a good play caller, you can get good stuff out of it. So that's why I'm gonna go with a B.
I mean, and your point about Daboll is that's going to be the thing, right? It hinges on a lot of things. Hinge on what happens with him. I do think, you know, from what I've heard, like, I think he's getting the chance to come back. I think for them, like for him, getting that quarterback that he actually wants, not saying he didn't want to coach Daniel Jones, but paying Daniel Jones $40 million was not his decision. That was Joe Shane's decision. And I think now he gets to get a young guy with all the tools in the world that he can design and devise a plan for. I give it actually A minus, simply because of what Cam Ward is physically. Miami wins probably 5 games with a normal quarterback behind center this year in 2024. Like that, the way that team was structured, stuff like that for the Hurricanes, they weren't a good team. You put Cam Ward in New York, the arm talent to be able to. Jalen High is one of the faster receivers on their team, and you couldn't get him the football with Daniel Jones, which was incredible to me. So now with Cam Ward, he could push the ball down the field vertically. He could hit the short intermediate throws as well. Also run the RPO stuff, play action things. And I think with the talent that they have, with the run game that they have, it's a situation where I think, again, Brian Daboll's still there. You have a spot where he can walk in and he doesn't have to carry the entire team on his back. Has he showcased the ability to be a truck? Yeah, but I don't want my quarterbacks to be a truck every single game. Like sometimes you just be whatever we need you to be. Manage the game, get us in and out of plays, get the ball to our weapons. And I think also the mentality of Cam Ward and the Malik Neighbors, I think those two guys will mesh very well mentally and from a competitiveness standpoint. Like they're gonna push each other, things like that. Yeah, the chemistry between those two, I like it a lot. Keith, listen, I'm telling you right now, I grade this an A. Shedeur Sanders to the Tennessee Titans. Like Shedeur Sanders would give Coach Callahan his version of Joe Burrow, like that accurate quarterback who's a functional athlete, but they thrive in the pocket. You can go wide spread offense with them, and he can hit all the quick stuff, the underneath stuff, hit the right guy. While it's crazy how we talked about this during the offseason. It was like, I don't think Will Levis fits this offense. And then we had Titans fans in the comments, nah, y'all crazy. Like Will Levis is going to light it up. It did not happen. Like Will Levis is an aggressive vertical passer who does not fit what Coach Callahan wants. I think Shedeur Sanders throwing to Calvin Ridley, walking in with an immediate wide receiver 1 and 2 good running backs in the backfield. Yeah, I like it a lot, Keith.
No, I'm right there with you, and I like it from, like you said, the schemes fit, right? The schemes fit. I'm sorry. And assuming Callahan is back, and it goes down to that. I think that Callahan wants to do the Joe Burrow thing, spread it out, dink and dunk, take some deep shots, and that's exactly what Shedeur does at Colorado, right? Like you seem like it'll almost be a situation much similar to Joe Burrow. It's just like a pickup where you left off type situation, right? Like, hey, go 5 wide, go empty, 5-man protections, sling the ball around the field. And I think Shedeur's accuracy is underrated, in my opinion. Also, his ability to make off-platform throws or throws on the run in tough situations. This is a guy that can put the ball in rather difficult situations and do it with precision. So Tennessee Titans, they've tried with Will Levis, right? They've tried to even revamp the wide receiver core and be aggressive in those facets, right? And it just didn't work out. So now I think it's time to potentially try to get return on investment of you, I guess, placing investments into the receiver core by getting a quarterback that meshes with the OC. I think this situation, Shedeur, I think he'll bring them, he'll bring the franchise, right? Talking about in Nashville, right? The Tennessee Titans. I think he'll kind of revamp them fun, right? It's been a while since we said Tennessee was fun. Even when they were winning, we didn't necessarily say they were fun, right? And I think this can be a fun situation down there in Nash Vegas.
And the crazy thing about it too, Keith, like when I look at, like, I think Treylon Burks said he got hurt this year. You bring him back if he's healthy. The one thing he hasn't had the whole time he's there, from one, a string of health. Number 2, an accurate quarterback. I think Shedeur can probably elevate his game, and I don't want to say get him to that first round draft capital that he was, but get him to playing good ball and being a big body playmaker alongside Calvin Ridley, which at the end of the day, they still need to upgrade the receiver core yet again with some young, explosive talent to pair with Calvin. Maybe even attack. That's a team, honestly, when we get to those tight end conversations, the Titans are a team that need to look at tight end. Lastly, Keith, at 6, the Las Vegas Raiders select Jalen Milroe, QB out of Alabama. It's funny, Kyle put in his synopsis, he said, as Denzel Washington once said, I'm leaving here with something. And you know what? I kind of feel like that could be the case. If any team, if the draft for the day and there was any team to reach for a quarterback and take one of the top 10 that wasn't one of the top guys, it would be Vegas, because the Raiders you can't bet on, I can't walk into the season with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew again. Like, how do you tell your fan base and your season ticket holders, this is what we're doing? I grade this one a B, because I don't think Milroe's ready to play right out the gate. I think if you have if you get a Jameis Winston or somebody just kind of start the season for him, be a good mentor to him, and then mid-season you let him run it, cool. I don't think he's ready to start right now. So I give it like a B.
Yeah, I like it. I'll go B plus on this situation, and I think it could be more than just I'm leaving here with something, right? Because I think that leaves the connotation that at least I got something out of the deal, right? Instead of feeling good about the situation, I think if you put the surrounding pieces around Jalen Milroe and run an offense that's suited around him, I think he can be a more than competent quarterback, right? And we've seen with Jaden Daniels, when a quarterback can run with the football, it helps set a foundation and a floor for them. Jalen Milroe can be an explosive runner with the football. Now, the passing stuff, does he have to work on that? Of course, right? But I think there's if you look at it and you say, I'm drafting Jalen Milroe as my franchise quarterback, start there. Now, what are the pieces that I'm going to put around Jalen Milroe to be a successful quarterback in the NFL? And if you do that properly, like he already has one, I would say top 3 tight end in the NFL, Brock Bowers, right? Like this guy's a rookie phenom. He got that.
Yeah.
Then what they signed with Jacoby Myers, they have Jacoby Myers for a couple of years. Now the next thing is, okay, can we get another couple pieces? And this is one of those teams we've had the wide receiver conversation that, hey, do you double dip at the wide receiver position and get there? Because tight end, they wouldn't need to do it because they went Brock Bowers and then our guy from
back years,
Michael Mayer. Yeah, they already double they did the double dip already. So I think there's a lot there, DP, for them to, with Jalen Milroe and the potential for what it could be. But DP, let's keep this thing going, man. Talked about quarterbacks, the guys that protect the quarterbacks, the offensive tackles. Let's get into that conversation coming up next.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it's the perfect gift. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Some of the other things that I love with Game Time is the fact that they show the views for all the seats in the venue so you know what vantage point you will have before you buy your tickets. They have lowest price guarantees, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection, plus more. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. The run on offensive tackles in Kyle Krabs' latest mock draft over at the 33rd team. Keith, at number 9, this one shocked me when I saw it. Our guy, who's really our offensive tackle 1, Josh Simmons from Ohio State, he went 9 to the Chicago Bears. So that's 2 years removed from them selecting Darnell Wright at like 9 or 10. I think it was 10 because they traded back with the Eagles. And then you have Josh Connolly at 12 to Kyle's Miami Dolphins. Offensive tackle going there. Play left tackle. I think they have Teron Armstead, who I don't think anybody's sure if he's going to play after this season. He might retire. The Dallas Cowboys, who need receiver, they need a couple other things. He had them taking Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. So, Keith, when you look at these offensive tackle landing spots, how do you feel about it? Do you think those were the right choices for those teams, or do you feel like some of them were reaches? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, the Josh Simmons one I like because I'm still aggressive on Josh, and we talked about it, right? Like clearing medicals, depending on medicals, he's healthy. I think he's offensive tackle 1 in this class. Now, he's going to be so many months out by the time the draft even happened because of when he tore his ACL. I think when I was at that game, the Ohio State-Oregon game, that was in October, right? So you go October to April, that's 6 months, right? Like some guys come back and play football at 6 months. So he'll have another 2-3 months before he even gets into training camp, right? So by the time the season starts, he'll be a good 10 months out, and that's if you want him to play early, right? You still can sit him down for a little while if you want him to, but I think if you're the Bears, you have to go with upside. So I like the Chicago Bears pick. Now, the Dolphins pick, I like Josh Connolly a lot. The question I have, I wonder if I would flip Josh Connolly and Will Campbell. just from a mentality perspective and
Mm,
how much physical will plays and what the Miami
yeah,
Dolphins need, right? Like just and people don't want to say it, but there's a connotation that the Miami Dolphins are soft, right? At certain, in certain situations, certain moments. Like if they play the Ravens or if they play the Steelers, like you like, oh man, the Dolphins are probably going to get beat up in the trenches, right? Like you need somebody that's going to bring their hard hat and their lunch pail and be like, you know what, let's get after it in the trenches too. Like they're going to punch us, let's punch them back. But I do have Connerly graded over Will. It's just a matter of, hey, what are we trying to bring into our locker room? And we're talking about splitting hairs. That's just the only thing. And then Will Campbell with the Cowboys, I would be interested to see where is he playing, right? Is he playing right
yeah.
tackle because they adjusted the left tackle, they adjusted the left guard situation. Where is he playing? I think is more
Mhm.
of the question for this situation.
Yeah, I think Cowboy, because the only spot that you would assume that would be open is right tackle, unless you say, okay, because Terrence Steele is like he's okay, but he's not a cornerstone. So unless you're saying, okay, we're gonna flip Tyler Guyton back to the right tackle spot where he played in college, and you trust that, because I think the conversation with Will Campbell is going to be arm length and then athletic explosiveness. Can he handle the speed rushers around the corner? And that I can't remember which game it was, but he got beat clean a couple times against true speed rushers. So with a situation like that, you kind of run into it like, all right, I don't know how if you feel comfortable with him, then you put him you keep him at left tackle. You flip Tyler Guyton to right tackle, and then you say, okay, our interior offensive line is set with Tyler Smith at guard, Cooper Beebe at center, and I forget who's at right guard, but like you're good. I think Zach
Zach,
Martin.
so and that's what Kyle mentioned in the thing, and he mentioned Zach Martin being the end of the line, obviously with the injury also. So I'm wondering if he's projecting Will Campbell to replace Zach Martin, which would be interesting. I don't think I have a definitive statement one way or the other, right? But it would be
Yeah.
taking Will Campbell and then placing him at the right guard position.
I mean, and to be honest, I mean, you've watched him saying we both watched Will Campbell. He's an outstanding run blocker. Like that, like that aggressiveness, that physicality he plays with, the upper body strength, like he's gonna move bodies. So it's like that's why a lot of like O-line scouts and evaluators like, yeah, I like him better inside because he's going to immediately improve your rushing attack and create running lanes for your running backs and things like that. So if he were to replace a Zach Martin, they would have 3 young interior offensive linemen. And again, you kind of hope that Terrence Steele can continue to be solid, and Tyler Guyton takes that next step forward going forward. So I mean, I feel like I do like what you said about maybe flipping Will Campbell to the Dolphins and just get them that gritty, that tough, physical offensive lineman, whether he's playing tackle or playing guard. Because I know that, at the end of the day, Tua is the type of quarterback, Keith, you want to protect the interior with him. Like, yeah, you want to keep the outside protected, but he's a guy that is willing to step up in the pocket. You want to create that wall form between that guard, center guard combo and trio, rather than having 2 stalwart tackles and having a mediocre interior offensive line. That doesn't set Tua up for success. So I think either way, I think these are good players. Overall, good landing spots. Josh Simmons still going top 10. I like it. You know what I mean? I think he can get a job done, and he gets to protect the blind side of Caleb Williams. And they still have Braxton Jones, I think he might be on like getting ready for the last year of his contract or somewhere around there. And everything. And if he does have one more year, you can let Braxton, once he returns healthy, you can let him start the season while you get Josh Simmons up to speed. You know what I mean? And you got a young veteran offensive tackle where you don't have to rush Josh from this ACL injury onto the field as a rookie in that division, right? You're going to see a lot of pass rushers in that division. I don't want to rush him back into that situation, but I think it's a good landing spot overall. Connolly one I like a lot. He's really grown on me, Keith. Like I'm perfectly fine with a team taking him top 15, potentially top 10. I think he's that good.
Yeah, I told you when we interviewed him out there in Oregon, really good mentality, right? Like really, really good young man. Like what you want from offensive tackle. You know what I'm saying? Like just centered, like not worried about the spotlight, worried about being focused on the work. Like talk to him about, just what the outside people had to say about Oregon being in a Big Ten. He's like, you know what? We didn't worry about that. We focused on us. We focused on being the best version of us. And I thought that was really dope. And I think he's going to do really well in interviews. So not only is he in a good spot now, but like you said, he could be potentially continue stock rising. Like we're at the point now where we may see a Josh Connolly, Josh Simmons 1-2 combination at the top of the draft, right? And we'll see. But that's
he got a big game coming up. He got a big game coming up.
Has another big game, right? You get the matchup with Jack Sawyer, J2 Tamumalu again, and see what happens. But DP, talk about these running backs, man. We went quarterbacks, we went running backs. Now, quarterbacks, offensive tackles, and now we're going running back. Ashton Jeanty to the Los Angeles Chargers. Let's get into that conversation coming up next.
Time is our most precious commodity. So don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free. That's right, 40 FREE free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and the history of the Constitution, the introduction to free market economics, and the rise and fall of the Roman Republic. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just simply enjoy the lectures. Guys, it's very simple. This is a deal you don't want to pass on because it's free. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. Again, that's hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout for being our everydayers. In the end of this mock draft, Keith, at the 20th pick, Kyle Krabs had the Los Angeles Chargers selecting Ashton Jeanty, running back out of Boise State. And, the Chargers might have, they don't have a ton of needs, I would say. Maybe improve the defensive line a little bit more, add some more help in the cornerback. Well, wide receiver is definitely a need. They need to add some more talent there. I think they're losing Josh Palmer. Ladd McConkey's been good. Our guy QJ has flashed. Still got just got to secure the ball and he'll be fine. Tight end is a position to need for them to upgrade. Well, you had Tyler Warren, I think Colson Loveland both were on the board. How do you feel about Ashton Jeanty in that Jim Harbaugh-led rushing attack with Justin Herbert?
Yeah, if he falls this far, which I don't know if he will fall this far. Obviously the deeper you get into the back end of the draft, right, it's better situation. So Los Angeles Chargers obviously be a home run situation. I mean, you have Jim Harbaugh who wants to run the football, who I believe that they're trying, and JK. It's just unfortunate, right? You talk about the J.K. Dobbins situation because it's like every time he gets going, something, obviously low extremity happens for him. And I think that they want to have a bell cow running back, right? I don't think they necessarily want to do it by committee. I think they have to piece some things together. But they get Ashton Jeanty. They have their bell cow running back. You talk about an offensive line that has spent, they put a lot of investments to it, right? You talk about last year, Joe Alt. Then you talk about Rashawn Slater. Then you talk about Jamari Sawyer. This is a good offensive line across the board for me, to be honest. And they're doing what they want to do. Had a conversation with Joe Alt, right? Like, this is another guy who has the right mentality, like thinks about it the right way. And this was before they even got the training camp, and he was all in on Harbaugh and what they can do and running the football and why they like running the football. So I definitely think that we look at it from that perspective, DP, and say this is a good situation, right? Like it's an ideal situation if you're Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah, no, if you're Ashton Jeanty, you would walk in as the lead back of a Greg Roman run-heavy offense.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Where you're going to, especially, and you have one of the best quarterbacks, one of the best young quarterbacks in the league in Justin Herbert. And if they're able to, whether it's through free agency, because again, that like knowing that they do need a true wide receiver one, like Ladd McConkey is good and he's making plays. You need that true dominant outside wide receiver, and that's one thing they don't have just yet right now. So if you're able to, if a guy's available at this pick, like it's going to be a toss up, or if you go through free agency, whether you throw some money at T. Higgins, right? Like if you got the cap space, throw some money at T. Higgins. Think about T. Higgins if you're T. Higgins and you go from Joe Burrow to Justin Herbert, just call yourself blessed, brother. Just you're blessed. You know what I'm saying? To go from that level of quarterback, and then you put Ashton Jeanty in a situation where you don't, unless besides Greg Roman going to like those big heavy sets, you can't really load the box on him with a quarterback like that, with the receivers that they would have if they wouldn't upgrade the position as well or upgraded the tight end spot. I like it. You know, they want to run the ball, they want to play action football, and that's what Ashton Jeanty loves. He's a volume running back. He's a guy I could, in this offense, I definitely see him with 20 plus touches. Like absolutely, game in and game out, I see him with 20 plus touches. You think about going against the Chiefs, and you need to keep Mahomes where Mahomes is at on the sideline, on the bench. You treat him like Brady and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees. You got to run the ball. You got to keep long drives and mixing up the play calling of pass, run, pass. I think that's a good fit for him. Keith, I want to go to two other spots right after that. The Denver Broncos and then the Los Angeles Rams going tight end. The Broncos getting Tyler Warren from Penn State, and the Rams getting Colston Loveland from Michigan. How do you feel about those two potential landing spots for tight ends? Because I never thought about the Rams as a tight end spot. I feel like, man, they might need to upgrade corner, do different things like that. But them getting a tight end, we talked about the Broncos needing a tight end. Never thought about it with the Rams. How do you feel about how those two young prospects will fit in those situations?
Yeah, I think this comes down to, right, like, I guess value and how you grade players in a sense, right? Because it's these are guys that on the opposing side of it that, like, let's say with my mock draft, right, that I did a week ago, that I had these guys going much higher. I think I had Tyler Warren going to the Broncos, but Colston Loveland going higher, right? And so obviously, like I said, it's the same thing with Ashton Jeanty, that if they fall down the draft, they're going to better situations. So you tell me Colston Loveland with Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and then Matthew Stafford throwing the football with Kyron Williams in the backfield, home run pick, right? Like really good situation. The situation with Tyler Rowan, a good run after the catch guy, a guy that can do some wildcat stuff, some H-back stuff, some split flow, like do so many different things. What we just talked about with Sean Payton with the Rookie Report podcast, right? Clearly a good situation. So I think that's what the observation is from the mock draft, right? It's just how you value these players depending on how you slot them, right? And then all of these situations, probably from pick 20 on, you're talking about NFL playoff teams, probably going to be good situations.
No, 100%. Think about Tyler Warren in that Sean Payton offense with Bo Nix. I think he would, no disrespect to Colston Loveland or Troy Franklin or Marvin Mims, I think he could end up leading them in receptions as a rookie. Being that quick underneath option for him. We know that Bo Nix likes to get the ball out quick, and then being able to give it to a guy who's 6'6", 250, who's a good run after catch threat. I can see him being a high volume target early in his rookie career, in his rookie season for that Denver Broncos offense. And with Bo Nix and Sean Payton, and we know that Sean Payton can get the ball to pretty much anybody. Like he can devise a plan to get it to your X, your Z, your slot, or your tight end. It doesn't really matter. We've seen it with Jimmy Graham. We know what he can do with high caliber tight ends with size and ball skills and athleticism. I think Tyler Warren would be a good fit. And like you said, man, just thinking about putting Colston Loveland, catching passes with Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp potentially still being there, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Sean McVay calling up the plays. That is a scary thing if you are an NFC West team, because it's like, who do we defend? Who do we double? Who do we try to take away? Especially once you get inside the 20. He's 6'5", 250, 245, 250, athletic ball skills, can go up and get it. But Kyle broke my heart here because the Colts need a tight end. Like, I know he gave him Malachi Starks, but Jesus Christ, that's one of the worst tight end rooms in the NFL. And you let both of the top guys just fall right past him. Don't get me wrong, Malachi Starks would absolutely help that secondary, and that's a position of need, a spot of need. They need to improve that secondary, but I would have loved to see A-Rich be able to throw the ball to Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland in that top, with one of those top 15 picks. But I like both of those situations, man. And hey, listen, maybe the Colts give Harold Fan in second round. You know what I mean? They can go ahead and get them a playmaking tight end because they're going to need it.
Yep, that's definitely possible. With DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, man. Every listen is greatly appreciated here over at Locked On NFL Draft. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson, and you can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe for free or follow on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Guys, coming up on Monday, we got not just New Year's, Keith, but we have college football playoff games, Penn State versus Boise State. We're going to break that down from a prospect standpoint for the 2025 NFL Draft on the next episode. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.